It's honestly crazy how many times I get asked how to finish better through contact. Legit probably 300 plus times per year. So if you're watching this video feeling like it's something that you and only you need to improve on, it's definitely not the case. You're not alone. Now the thing is, so many players expect to train like this and then suddenly be able to do this. But today I'll give you the whole guide on how to finish stronger at the rim, through chaos, through contact, and even through or over way more athletic, stronger players. But it's gonna take some creativity. In the first part, I'll show you a ton of drills and exercises you can be doing to build all the skills you absolutely need to finish through contact. And in the second part, I'll give you all the strategies you'll need to apply this into a game and make this look easy. So the first quality here is learning how to leverage your body to move other people. You may look at this and be like, yo, this is more like martial arts training or something. But as we'll talk about, knowing how to use your body in the right way at different angles and timings is one big part of basketball strength. It can even hide your lack of quote unquote weight room strength if you get good at this in all directions and situations. So implementing some of these in a warm up is a great way to do this. Second is core stability and power, which can take a number of forms. Being able to stabilize and brace through your trunk with exercises like this, especially with your arms overhead, can help you stay more like a statue in the air even when you get bumped, which is tough because of course you don't have the ground for balance. But being able to actually move powerfully through your core is just as important because it allows you to do things like this where you're rotating, swinging the ball overhead, and contorting your body in the air to find a way to finish through chaos. Even when you're on the ground too, this powerful rotational ability and strength to resist bumps makes it much easier to smoothly transition into a finish. And rarely do people just develop these by accident. You gotta work on these. And on top of the physical quality of strength here, building this can even include drills like this where you're getting bumped in the air and just getting comfortable with quickly bracing depending on the direction and the power of the bump to stay stable while in the air. Which leads me to the next quality, dealing with unpredictable momentum. Obviously, no matter how strong you are, when you get hit or fouled, most times you're gonna have to adjust. You'll be bumped off your original path. And considering how fast basketball moves, it's hard to predict exactly how this is going to feel. So being able to quickly feel out this change in momentum and stay stable and focused enough to still score is something we have to work on. And we do this with drills like this that may challenge your focus in midair, or crazy ones like this, in this case, one that I call the LeBron drill, that not only force you to be aggressive to free your arms up, but also quickly challenge you to adapt to where you are in relation to the rim and deal with different momentums that pull creates. Like here, for example, as one arm is getting pulled, he's got to deal with some momentum going backwards, and as a result, he's probably gonna have to put a bit extra power on it. Or here, since his momentum suddenly gets pulled laterally, he's gonna have to adjust last second to again make sure that he has a good angle to finish. And this is the stuff that you gotta get a ton of experience with to get good at. The next skill is winning a line, or in other words, if you and a defender are shoulder to shoulder on the way to the rim, being able to stay on your ideal path to the basket. This often involves bumping them and resisting their contact early in that process. And even when you do get bumped off of it, if you work on this consistently, you'll be able to regain a solid angle to the basket. But it's definitely a skill to focus on. Another quality is being able to quote unquote multitask in the air. In other words, you're going up, using the guide hand to protect, bracing through the core, and still focusing on finishing the layup. So here in this drill, I have them going up looking to shield off the pad with the off arm, and you can see how difficult this can become. It's like rubbing your belly and patting your head at the same time, but being able to execute all these at once is huge. Then you got being able to develop your English too, so sometimes with contact you'll end up at a weird angle, so being able to use that spin on the ball to finish from anywhere is key. And lastly, we got last second adjustments. In close quarters to a defender, there's a pretty damn good chance you'll have to adjust your angle, momentum, and timing last second. And this comes down to a few things to me. One, having the ability to move acrobatically in the air, which requires constant challenges like this. Two, getting good at finishing on the way down, since most times you have to hang a bit to adjust best. And three, being able to quickly see windows of space. For example, Jones is initially driving to this space, but then as this contact happens, or I guess as the chair is pulled, he's then able to find a new window here and then adjust a second time to extend further out. And this right here is a great drill for that. The rule is that as soon as you get control, you have half a second to get it out of your hands. So you got to quickly find where the space is like he does here and go straight up into it. Before we get into the techniques and strategy, as you may be able to tell, all this requires a ton of experience to build this level of adaptability. And all these are drills that you can use to accumulate a ton of reps without being too high intensity. All right, now for a little bit of strategy. Actually, first off, let me talk about the different types of contact finishes. Number one, we got intentional in-air finishes, which is contact that happens after the jump with no feet on the ground, but it's purposeful. We, the offensive player, initiates this. This one's tough and definitely requires that in-air stability, but if you're able to time it right and be on balance in the air, it's definitely doable to get pretty good at. On the other hand, we got unintentional in-air finishes, which are probably the toughest. This is where you get contact in the air without knowing. And since it's tough to find a strategy to balance yourself in literally a tenth of a second, on these, usually finding a way to land safely is prioritized over making the shot. Next are intentional on the ground finishes, which are most ideal out of all of these. Where you're driving, you look to create contact, give your defender a nice bump to get him out of position, and then jump to finish. Obviously, whenever your feet are on the ground, you have a base of support, so it's much easier to work through the contact before you jump. And for our last type, unintentional on the ground finishes, even these are very doable because you're on the floor, and even if you didn't create the contact, you have some stability and even another step to balance you. I would say these ones are usually the and ones, by the way. All right, now to the strategy. Number one, always try to make it one of the intentional ones, but especially intentional on the ground.
Be the aggressor and embrace that contact, right? Letting players come to you is probably one of the worst things you can do. Now they have the momentum, now they have the aggressive mindset. You should be the one, whether it's the player behind you or the one in front of you, to create that contact, okay?
I like to think of this as a contact battle. Usually whoever hits first, as long as it's in control, will win. So sometimes even going out of your way to create contact to nullify this defender, kill their momentum, and make it hard for them to jump. Strategy 2, bump and jump timing. When you do initiate that battle, that timing comes down to finding the point of least resistance from your defender when they're in stride, so they don't really have a strong base of support. And also, of course, before they look to bump you. Now, once you do create that contact, then it's about timing the jump. And you want to be able to get up into the air before they recover. So you'll have that little window of space where they're back on their heels, and that's when you want to get a head start into the air. And sometimes it can even be a super quick bump and jump, almost at the same time like this, which makes it even tougher to recover for this defender. Now, that's not to say that it should always be on the ground, because realistically, there are some times when going with the intentional in air just makes sense. First off, if the defender has significantly less momentum than you, like this defender does here as he slows down and has to go stationary, if you're able to explosively meet him in the air, it's going to be tough for him to defend that. Second, if it's so unpredictable that the defender won't get up into the air in time, now you can beat them up there and often get an and one. But keep in mind, especially on these, 90% of the time, it'll be smarter to go off 2 feet since it gives you a more balanced and powerful in-air shape to work with. But there are times where going off the outside foot, like you see Cade do here, can work well too, because you get more momentum going towards the defender, and it's an easier position in mid-air to stay balanced when you do get bumped. Try it out one time, you'll see what I mean. Next, make sure you're conscious of your release angle and finishing away from the defense. Too many young players try to finish through contact like it's a normal layup, extending right to the rim, when in reality, you're gonna have to have your body in between the defender and the ball most times to shield it, even if it makes it a tougher shot to make. And lastly, slow down. So many players enter the lane like a wrecking ball, trying to overpower people, but moving at slower speeds can throw off the timing of a physical defender and gives you much more stability and control to work through contact. Now, the last component here, mindset. We got to consider that this isn't natural for some people. Some hoopers love contact, some don't. But regardless, this takes time and exposure to physicality to really build. And I found even sessions like this, where players are battling, pushing each other, playing physical, and much more, help that mindset a ton to become the aggressor and not always wait for contact.
Oh yeah.
Or drills like 30 seconds of hell here, where you set a timer for half a minute, you got no fouls, and see who can score the most layup. Secondly, regarding mindset, don't be scared to get blocked. Players who are consistently worried about getting sent often get blocked more because they attack so timidly. So yes, prepare for it, but don't give it your full focus.
Just be confident in it. Even if you feel like you're gonna get blocked, even if you feel like a player may be bigger, stronger than you, sometimes it's worth just going in as confident as you can and trying to finish, right? If you're always going in hesitant, probably not going to work out too.
Make it a huge effort to key in on finishing the layup and finding space, not worrying about whether you'll get blocked. And you'll find your success rate going up a ton. And as you get more experience, you'll develop a better feel of what to expect on these. For example, on these intentional in-air finishes, if you're playing at a higher level, in a weird way, this can actually become easier because opposing bigs are a bit more disciplined in going vertical and not coming down. So if you're able to bump, hang, and finish with the right release angle, stuff like this becomes doable. versus finishes on less refined defenders who just kind of throw themselves at you. And then lastly here, remember, just because you make contact does not mean it's a foul. Don't play to get fouled. Play to be the aggressor and make the layup. And if you get fouled, you get fouled. But thinking every time you get hit should be a foul will not help you much with making these. So obviously this is a lot to apply, from training to trying these things out to building the mindset. Start to think about which ones you lack the most, attack those things. Hopefully you have some drills here that you can use and apply now. And if you're interested in developing all of these qualities, check out the Virtual Academy, where we have a finishing program coming soon, a small guard program that includes all of this, the ultimate athleticism program to build all the physical qualities, and the mental skills academy, where you can build a mindset behind this. As always, appreciate you guys for tuning in. See you next time.